Hi there, it's Ken with Roguedeckbuilder.com here with a updated rogue market. I'm going to do a rogue market. This is kind of a hybrid between a rogue market and a spoiler video, but we're going to do some Born of the Gods speculation here with what information we've received. We have a new mechanic. Well, it's a confirmed mechanic with dual color devotion. Now, what dual color devotion is, let me bring it up here with the card that was spoiled. It is the Selesnya God of the Analysis. And this bad boy, this bad girl actually, she has devotion of white and blue less than 7. Now, the one thing about this card is I hope the other gods don't follow suit, because making her a creature is not that pertinent. It's not that relevant, as she's just a 6/5 indestructible. And that isn't the greatest by the time you have 7 devotion. It's not 5 devotion, it's 7 devotion before she is active. I can see her maybe in a U-White control type list, but again, the secondary ability of her drawing cards isn't that relevant to a control list. I'm thinking this card fits best in an Esper mid-range type deck, or because you have opposite out Ghost Council that flickers in and out, which will draw you cards, as well as you have the flash ability from like not Battlewise Hoplite, the Deputy of Acquittals, which I think will actually be pretty good because it will be able to return a card to your hand, or return a creature card to your hand, which will allow you again to cast it to draw even more cards. The cool thing out of Farah here is it's the beginning of each upkeep. So if you cast a creature spell on your turn, during your opponent's turn, you'll draw a card. But if you cast a creature or a creature enter the battlefield under your control during your opponent's turn, you'll draw one during your upkeep. So you can double dip here with this card for sure. Again, though, I'm hoping the other gods will have some sort of relevance with making them creatures, because this is what this speculation video is all about. So let's just, without further ado, let's go over the cards that I think have some potential for growth based upon the devotion mechanic. So here I've got them all laid out here. I'm going to start with my favorite, which is the Mogus colors, Rakdos colors, which is Rakdos Lord of Riots. So I'm hoping Mogus wants to become a creature, because we have this awesome enabler with Rakdos Lord of Riots. He is a 6/6 flying trample and makes all of your other creatures cost so much less, which is very relevant in this format. We know that people ramping with Rakdos Shrine of Nyx is awesome. Well, how about ramping with Rakdos Lord of Riots? So on turn 5, if you somehow got this guy enabled, you swing with Rakdos, creature spells are going to cost 6 less for you, 6 colorless. So you can drop a enormous creature with Rakdos on that following turn 5. So here's to hope, and I think that actually does work, because the god is considered to be a creature as well. It's a legendary creature enchantment, so it will reduce the casting cost of the god. So if Mogus is actually a high expensive card, Rakdos might just be the enabler to get it out. But as we've seen with most gods, they aren't very expensive, so it might not actually be that relevant. But if it is a 2, a black and a red, that is still reducing its casting cost by 2 with Rakdos, if you're swinging in with it and whatnot. So definitely look for Rakdos to have some relevance if Mogus is an awesome god. Now let's just go over some other enablers here. Let's by casting costs here for these are just the hybrid, or the black and red converted mana casting cost relevant cards. I didn't put all the ones that are terrible here, so it's just going to be like Rick's Mighty Guild Mage. He's decent. He adds 2 devotion. Oh, once again, let's go back to devotion. Hybrid does not count as 2. Hybrid only counts as 1. So if it's like a hybrid black or red like Rakdos Cackler, that's only 1 total going towards Mogus. So Rick's Mighty Guild Mage and Spike Jester and Dimir are both 2 devotion total. So definitely look at those cards. I think between the 3 are Spike Jesters of always, it's going to be an auto include in any sort of Rakdos list, because it's such an awesome card. People underestimate how good this card is. I've had a ton of success with Spike Jester in my Rakdos devotion list, which was my most recent Rogue Deck Builder deck, I believe. Is Spike Jester is an awesome, you bring him in versus the slow decks, and he usually gets in for 6, a lot of times 9 damage before they deal with him. Very good card. And Dimir, I'm just in love with Dimir. Dimir has some eternal playability with the casual and EDH crowd, and he actually does have some definite pertinence with like Immortals of the Forge as a way to sacrifice creatures, and he's very good mana dump for Rakdos Shrine of Nyx. And I think this card has potential. It is a rare printed in a very, 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 very highly open set, but nonetheless, it definitely does have potential in this Rakdos devotion list. Hellflare is another card that I think deserves some mentioning here. It's kind of like a Loxodon Smiter, as it is a 4 power for 3 mana, but the 3 toughness and not being able to block is relevant in this format. I do think Hellflare is standard playable. I know a lot of people like Boros Reckoner over him or other 3-drops, but in a Rakdos deck, where devotion actually is relevant, I think Hellflare might see a spot, especially because he pairs well with Xava. So Xava, again, is going to add 2 devotion, first strike haste, and if Mogis adds any sort of counters, that's going to be some added value to Xava. And Xava is sitting around $2 right now. I definitely think that, especially with the Temple, I'm thinking that the Rakdos is going to be more of a strategy to begin with, and Xava is going to fit in that strategy. So definitely be looking at Xava. Then we have Underworld Cerberus. Underworld Cerberus is an amazing card. Notice how I said that right for all of you grammar Nazis on the YouTube channel. Cerberus is, in my opinion, still the best spec target. I have a hard time seeing this card not seeing standard play sometime in its life. It is a 6/6 evasive creature that gets all of your Spike Jesters back if it dies, or Hellhole Flailers back if it dies. That is just sheer power, and I've had a lot of success with it. It is a nightmare for Mono Black to deal with this guy. Blue-White Control has Detention Sphere for it, or they just Azorius Charm it so you don't get any value out of it. But other than exiling it, you get insane amount of value out of the Cerberus. Sire of Insanity, Master of Cruelties also deserve some sort of mentioning here, as they are 2 more devotion towards the Mogis, and Sire of Insanity might actually be, curving into 6, making each player discard cards. Not having a hand is actually very good, but I don't know. Master of Cruelties, again, might not be enough devotion at a 5-drop. I mean, I think you're going to be curving out. I think that Rakdos might be better, and you just want to get in these early devotion. But I think that I guarantee they're going to be printing some more devotion cards. But for Rakdos, the groundwork is already there. It's there. We have Spike Jester and Temeret, which are awesome 2-drops. We have some decent 3-drops, and we have Rakdos is an amazing 4-drop. So definitely keep your eye on Mogis. If Mogis is amazing, buy those Rakdos Lord of Riots. We're going to go on to my second favorite, which is then going to be the Selesnya colors, which is going to be Karamitra. If you haven't watched the spoiler to Born of the Gods, go over to YouTube and watch Wizards of the Coast spoiler, Born of the Gods, not spoiler, intro to Born of the Gods, trailer, that's what I want to say. And Karamitra is going to be the white and green god, and Trostani again is a perfect 5-drop for it. You don't have it's a lot easier to cast in Rakdos, because even if you didn't deal damage, you can still just pop down Trostani. And with Trostani, again, it's only going to be between the god and Trostani. You only need one other devotion out to have that god active. So definitely Trostani has eternal playability with all the casual players, all the commander players. They love this card. That is why it's been able to keep its $5 to $6 price tag. And if it sees standard play, this dude could explode, or this I guess this trio of girls could explode in value. So, and again, we have some amazing cards in the 2 and 3 drop slot for Selesnya. In fact, we have the best cards in the 2 and 3 drop. We have Fleecemane Lion, which has the ability to become hexproof to keep your devotion out. A 3/3 for 2 is awesome. We have Vichugazi Guildmage, which populates as well. So if we have any sort of populate type strategy, we got these 2 cards that are awesome. And then speaking of populate, we have Voice of Resurgence, which the token off Voice of Resurgence is one of the most amazing things to populate. And again, that's 2 devotion counter from a 2-drop Voice of Resurgence. Now we also have Wayfaring Temple, but Wayfaring Temple, again, it fits in that populate deck, but I don't think that you could ever justify Wayfaring Temple over Loxodon Smiter or Chronicler of Heroes, as Loxodon Smiter is a 4/4 for 3. That's great, hard to kill. Only thing in the format that will kill it as far as damage base is Mizian Mortars. It dodges Anger of Gods, and it dodges Lightning Strike. And then you also have Chronicle of Heroes, pairs great with like Experiment 1, as it becomes an amazing, it becomes like an Elvish Visionary on steroids. And then we have the Elvish Healer, or the Centaur Healer, which again I think will maybe pertinent if aggro becomes huge and Selesnya needs an answer to aggro. We definitely do have the Centaur Healer. Now Armada Worm is definitely interesting. It adds again 4 devotion, because the copy of Armada Worm will stay out, and then the green worm won't add any devotion, but Armada Worm itself will add devotion, and it is just a very powerful card. If we get any sort of ramp or any way to stabilize into Armada Worm, I definitely think that it could see some play. The problem with Standard right now, if you like that sort of strategy, that sort of mid-range strategy, usually you're going to go RG monsters or mono blue, because it's kind of doing the same thing. You're dropping in Master Waves, overwhelming with tokens, the opponent dies the next turn. Armada Worm is the same thing. You drop an Armada Worm, you have 10 power on board, hopefully you're going to swing in for a win the next turn. The good thing about Armada Worm is if you kill one of them, you still have the other one left. If you kill the Master of Waves, they're all gone. And with the devotion strategy with RG monsters, it's pretty easy to shut them down if you just shut their devotion down. So I'm thinking Armada Worm may see some play, and it has great synergy with Trostani and the Karimitra. So definitely keep your eye on Karimitra, and if she is amazing and she wants to become a creature, pull the trigger on Trostani and Armada Worm. Now, my next favorite is going to be Dimir. Unfortunately, Dimir doesn't have any good enablers at the 2-drop slot. You have Woodlet Crawler, which is pretty decent. It's got Forest Walk and protection from green. Really like Woodlet Crawler as a Mizium, or as a hidden strings target, because against green decks they can't block it with Forest Walk, and then you can get that hidden strings trigger each turn. But anyway, that's another idea for another day. I'm not really a fan of either Shipwrecker Singer or Dustmantle Guildmage, as they're kind of meh in 2-drop, and the 3-drop slot isn't any better. Of course, still the best card would be Nightvale Spectre, as it would add 3 devotion, and then Lifebane Zombie again would still add 2 devotion. So I don't think Mortis Strider would actually ever see play. It's not powerful enough. But at the 4-drop slot, we do have Notion Thief, and we have Dustmantle. Forgot about Dustmantle Seer as well. That at the 4-drop slot, they will add 2 devotion. Now, again, I don't know if you could justify this over Desecration Demon or not, because it adds the exact same amount of devotion, but it is a possibility. And again, in an aggro strategy, I don't know how aggressive this will be. Phenox will be the god. I don't know how aggressive it will be. I'd love to see a blue-black aggro deck. You have Tormented Hero, you have Rakdos Cackler. At the 2-drop slot, you have plenty of other aggressive cards, and I'd love to see a Dustmantle Seer aggro deck come into fruition. And you never know, it might be just the enabler to get the Phenox enabled and then swing in for the win. At another great 4-drop though that I think is very underrated in Standard now is Soul Ransom. This card is actually pretty insane. You gain a card. If we go over to bigger is better format, Soul Ransom is definitely the answer. It's kind of like a D-Sphere as far as it takes care of their dude. You get their creature. Now the problem is they can get their creature back, but really look at that. Discard 2 cards, and then I get the controller of Soul Ransom, which is the person that actually enchanted the creature, draws 2 cards. So your opponent has to discard 2 cards, and you get to draw 2 cards to actually destroy the Soul Ransom. So it's huge. It's a 4-card swing, which your opponent still has to have 2 cards to begin with to actually activate it, or you gain control of their best creature. So I don't think Soul Ransom should be overlooked. I think it can see some play in Standard, especially now that it actually adds devotion towards Phenox. And if Phenox is amazing, I definitely think you should pick up Soul Ransoms. They're bulk rares. Going on to the next is into the Gruul, which is probably going to be Xenagos. It's not confirmed right now, but there is no god so far. They didn't spoil a god in the green-red yet, and it's the only allied color that would not be in the format. And that'd be really weird for red-green not to see some love. I know Xenagos already exists as a planeswalker, but the whole storyline of Born of the Gods is he's becoming a god. So the cool thing about the red-green, though, is you have Burning Emissary into one of these bad boys, in either Scarred Guildmage, which actually is really good in a devotion deck, as you can make all of your lands 4/4 elemental creatures, and it's just awesome. It feels kind of like a Master of Waves late game. But the really cool thing is first turn Burning Emissary, or second turn Burning Emissary into Zerta Druid is amazing. There's 4 devotion. So between them and the god, there's 6 devotion. You'd only need 1 more card out, either like an Elvish Mystic or an Experiment 1. And probably you've already ramped up to the god. So you could have a turn 3 god, Xenagos, who will be activated, who will have enough devotion. And you never know what. He could have haste. He could give everything else haste. It's in those colors to be very hyper-aggressive. So I'm very excited to see Xenagos. The thing with Xenagos is you don't have the greatest spec targets, as Domri is already pretty expensive, even though Domri adds 2 devotion, which will be pertinent and will go great in a creature-based deck. So definitely keep your eye on Xenagos for Domri. And yeah, so, and as, again, the 2 devotion will be awesome, and it will find you more devotion in a heavy creature base deck. The coolest thing about Dimir is it actually can reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, the gods do count as creatures, so you can actually draw it. So definitely keep your eye on Dimir. The other 3-drop in Feral Analyst isn't that decent, or Animist. It's kind of cool, though. I always thought about using this in devotion deck, as its power can become really, really crazy. If you can even add 6 mana, then it goes up to an 8/1. And if you add 9 mana, then it goes up to a 16/1. And then if you have any other sort of thing, like this card here, the Gruul War Chant, that's adding its baseline power, then it'd be of course 3, 6, and then 6 to 12, and then 12 to 24. So this card is always interesting. I just don't think it's quite playable enough. There's easier ways to use your devotion. I mean, 1 more mana, you have the World Eater, and that's just a better mana dump than Feral Animalist. Then Gore Clan Rampager, of course, is another thing that actually adds 2 devotion, but usually you're not going to be hard casting this in a creature-based deck, but you never know. With Senegos deck, you could be doing that. Gruul War Chant, again, is interesting because it's a non-creature permanent that stays out. We've seen the power of like Whip of Erebos and Underworld Connections to actually get enough devotion out for black. I'm thinking that the Gruul War Chant fits perfectly in a hyper-aggressive. I've been messing around with it with an RG list, and it actually been doing really well. It against like the white weenie type decks where their board gets kind of jammed and your board gets kind of jammed. It acts as the finisher. It's kind of like a Hell Rider, not quite as powerful, of course, but it still gives all of your attacking creatures +1/+0 and gives them this pseudo evasion. So definitely love Gruul War Chant, and I'm thinking that it might actually see a home in a devotion deck. Polish Crusher is kind of cool. It can't be pacified or detention sphered or whatever other enchantments that are going to be coming out. Who knows what those enchantments may or may not be. It's got protection from them, and the ability to Monstrosity 3 and then actually destroy enchantments is pretty cool. So Polish Crusher could fit in this deck. It again adds 2 devotion. So keep your eye on Polish Crusher. It's a bulk rare right now. Of course, Senegos the Reveler is... He doesn't kill himself. You can have a Planeswalker Xenagos and a God Xenagos out. And it's, again, 2 devotion towards Xenagos the God. Rurik Thar, again, is 2 devotion. It's 6/6, and it punishes non-creature-based decks. But the other one that I really want to talk about is Saurashun Hydra. It's, again, probably like a 3-drop or 4-drop, depending on how much you want to cast it for. Still adds 2 devotion. Still has the ability to pump himself up. Double Strike is no joke in this format right now, especially with cards like Gruul War Chant. Saurashun Hydra you could definitely brew around it. So if nothing else, we have a lot of options to brew. Right even now, I'm starting to find some combinations that I haven't played so far that I think have the ability to be, standard playable. So anyway, again, we've talked about the last god, the blue-white god, the Ifera, and the cool thing about her is I have found a little bit of an interaction with Isperia. Between Isperia and Binding of Thassa, forcing your creatures to attack, you can draw a lot of cards. Unfortunately, I don't know if that's the best line of play. That's a little bit clunky to be casting both a Binding of Thassa and Isperia, but it is a way to draw an insane amount of cards. And again, if you flash in cards, you drive in more cards. So this blue-white strategy already has the base for being a very, very creature-based yet drawing cards. So it reminds you kind of mono blue. So you might see that mono blue might add some white. I mean, you get Detention Sphere. That's great for mono blue to begin with. But even just add some white for the ability to draw even more cards with like Binding of Thassa. Binding of Thassa just pairs really well with Isperia. I could see mono blue splashing it in as a 1-of copy. It's got evasive 6/4. Again, if they can't really attack in without you getting some sort of advantage. And yeah, pretty cool. Again, this is the one I'm least excited about. Detention Sphere can enable, but the god doesn't really care about becoming a creature. Again, I hope that's not the theme here, as I'm hoping the other gods really do care about becoming a creature, because the 6/5 with no sort of evasion can just be chump blocked. Again, with Thassa, it's not too bad, because Thassa can give it unblockable, and between Thassa and herself, you have 2 unblockable huge guys, swinging in. What's Thassa? 5/5? So they're on a turn 2 clock with the 2 gods. So I definitely can see between Detention Spheres and Binding of Thassas, you can get these guys activated, and just by indestructible gods alone, you could win the game. So definitely keep your eye on that. these strategies. There's definitely some awesome interactions to come in Born of the Gods. I'm super excited for Born of the Gods. It looks awesome. So let's just do a top 10 list. Since this is a rogue market speculation, I'm going to give you a top 10. The number one card I would suggest picking up right now would be Trostani. That is, to me, the most logical card, as I'm thinking that the green-white god is going to be creature-based, and it's going to want to become a creature itself, just like Nylea wants to become a creature. And Trostani actually works very well with Nylea as well. And between them, you know, giving all your guys trample and whatever the new god will do, I think Trostani will see. I think that Selesnya will have a comeback and we'll see play. So on those lines, I'm actually going to pick my top of the guild guys to invest in right now, which will definitely be Trostani. And then coming in a close second is Rakdos, Lord of Riots. Again, I'm sure Mogus is going to be a creature strategy. He is all about swarming. It's called the Horde, the Minotaur Horde. Horde meaning many, so you're going to have a lot of creatures. So it's going to be a creature-based deck. Rakdos will probably be easy to get out. Spike Jester Rakdos is easy. There's plenty of cards. Even Rakdos Cackler makes Rakdos Lord of Riots on turn 4 become active. I'm thinking that this deck's going to work perfect with Mogus, or this card, as between Mogus and Rakdos Lord of Riots, all you need is a Cackler, and Mogus is active, and you've got an indestructible god that's huge, as well as a flying trample 6/6 desecration demon on crack, basically, that is active. So I'm thinking that Rakdos will definitely see some play. He's sitting at about, what, $2 right now? Has casual pill. I've seen him as a commander before. He's actually a pretty cool commander, believe it or not. If you can get him out, and then all those, you know, you swing in for freaking 6 damage, and all of your cards cost 6 less, and you start going crazy with like Mere Superiors and Solemn Simulacrums and all these other cards. I've seen some EDH decks just completely broken with Rakdos. So he's going to have some eternal playability, and I'm thinking this is his time to shine in Standard. The next one, of course, Borbo is completely unplayable. Well, he isn't. He's more of a reanimation thing or an insane ramp. I could see Xenagos does ramp, so maybe Xenagos the god will ramp, so maybe Borbo will actually see some play, but I don't think that he's worth speculating on until we have way more information. So I'm going to leave him over here. Even though he is the bulk mythic, you might as well just pick up a playset. You have no risk here. He's not going to go down any further than what he is now. And he could go up if he does see a tier 1 deck, some sort of ramp strategy. Right even now, like the RG monsters, it's easy for them to actually get 8 mana. And this guy's insane, especially with Hammer Perforos. This guy's insane. If you give him haste and get him out, it's game. I've had a lot of fun with Borbo in RG ramp type decks already. Hasn't been the most playable, but they've been fun nonetheless. So again, I think Lazov's the only other one that's worth speculating in. Asperia, I don't think. It might actually see some play. Again, these are mythic. You might as well just pick up a playset just in case, because you have absolutely no risk, as this will always keep its... Again, this is a great card in EDH. It makes players think twice about attacking into you. You can abuse it in EDH, in Commander, because you can actually force your opponents to attack you, draw a ton of cards, and whatnot. So Asperia, I think, is worth picking up a playset. The rest of these, I'm probably going to pick up multiple playsets because they are so cheap. Lazov, I think, is definitely perfect as it's hexproof. It's going to be a card that's going to stick around. It can't be Detention Sphered. It can't be Dark Betrayal. It can't be any of the other removals. They can't get rid of it. It actually survives Elspeth because of its toughness is 3, or power is 3. And the only thing it does not survive is Anger of God. So keep that in mind with the Zoth. But it's a great enabler for Phenox. If Phenox is insane, which I do think Phenox will want to become a creature, Lazov is the perfect card for that. So then let's go back to the... I'm going to go back and say it's going to be the Katamera, or however you say her name, Selesnya cards, which will definitely would be Fleecemane Lion. I'm going to put Voice of Resurgence over here as a maybe, because it is low based on its history. It's kind of at its like all-time low-ish, and it does have eternal playability, and it is open in a very, very disappointing set, where it is the only card that's over. Between him and Blood Baron, they're the only cards above $10. Everything else is below $10 in those sets. So Voice of Resurgence does have a lot of potential to grow. It could become a $50 mythic again, but $50 isn't even a 100% increase. So I don't really think that, unless you want to play, get your play set now. But if you're not planning on playing, if you're planning on doing this as in spec, I don't think it's a great spec target. I mean, it will increase in value. By how much? Probably not by 100%, which a lot of these have a lot more potential. It's a more safe investment, though. We'll put it that way. So speaking of like safe investments, though, we have Loxodon and Smiter. I'm gonna put Loxodon and Smiter as my number 5, as I do believe that at $3 to $4, which is what Fleecemane and Loxodon are, they're going to continue to see play. And if Selesnya becomes the number 1 deck, these become $8 cards overnight. And that's what I'm thinking anyway. I mean, were open in highly open sets, but Loxodon and Smiter sees some eternal playability. You see it in Hate Bears. It's great versus Liliana. It's great versus a lot of modern decks, as you can turn to it with Deathrite Shaman, no problem, or Birds of Paradise or whatnot. And Hate Bears sometimes does have acceleration, but it also makes a good Vial target, Aether Vial, as you have Aven Mind Sensor and Loxodon and Smiter that you can have at 3 for the Vial, and then the Hate Bears just then punishes. You start getting a lot of value out of the Hate Bears. Anyway, that's a modern deck. Hate Bears is a green-white. I don't know why they call it Hate Bears. Maybe you should just call it green-white aggro. I don't know. Anyway, so it's a very safe investment is what I'm trying to say. It has nowhere to go but up. Unflinching Courage and Chronicle of Heroes are both uncommons, and Centaur Healer is a common, so they're not worth specking into. Armada Worm, though, is definitely something to spec into, but I'm gonna put it below Underworld Cerberus. I think Underworld Cerberus has nowhere to go but up. In fact, I probably should put Underworld Cerberus as my 4th pick, as it is probably a better pick than both Loxodon and Smiter and Fleecemane's Lion, because it is so low right now. So anyway, Armada Worm I think would fit here at my 7th spot. And then I am going to go out, and the thing about the red-green is there really isn't any great spec targets. You have Savage Bird Hydra. It is low right now, but it is above. I think it's like a $4 mythic, and it really has to see a ton of play before I think it's worth specking into. Xavia's is already at like $2. Again, Xavia will probably make my list, but probably on the 10 slot. And Timerit's a bulk rare that has potential, but again, it's in a set that's opened up. I think Timerit will make my list because it, again, is a very safe investment. It's got so much commander playability. I made a commander deck out of this guy, and he's so fun. And again, he has fit in decks like Immortals of the Forge, and he's got a lot of potential. Master Cruelties is, again, another mythic that could go up. But again, I think that these have less playability than like the Voice. As Voice is going to be an auto-include, these may or may not fit those devotion-based decks. So definitely, again, I'm not going to make any Detention Sphere has seen tons of play as it is. I don't think it has anywhere. It's going to stay at its price tag, at this $4 to $5 price tag. And then, so the other cards that I definitely think that you should spec into is definitely Soul Ransom. Has nowhere to go up. Dustmantle Seer is another one that you can definitely wait and see if blue and black aggro looks like it's going to be a thing, buy these guys out. But I'm probably going to finish it off here, the top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yep, with Timerit and Xavia. So these are my cards I think you should pick up. They're all very, very low relative to what their potential is. The Fleecemane Lion and the Loxodon and Smiter are the only ones that are seeing play in Standard at the moment. The rest of these are seeing either fringe play or no play at all. And Armada Worm probably has the greatest potential as a mythic that could just completely change the format, as it is 10 power for 6 mana, which is really good, and it kind of protects itself against the 1-for-1s. So mono black, if you can survive until, like, the cool thing about Selesnya, if you are up against mono black and you have cards like Chronicler of Heroes and you make them waste their early removal on, like, Voice Resurgence is a 2-for-1, Chronicler of Heroes can definitely be a 2-for-1. The Experiment 1 is just a 1-drop. If you make them waste a removal on a 1-drop, that's just, it feels really bad as a black deck to have to waste a 2-mana converted mana cost spell on a 1-mana converted mana cost creature. So anyway, I really like Selesnya against mono black. If mono black continues to become, mono black Devotion or Orzhov Control continue to become the top tier deck, I'm thinking that the Armada Worm may find a spot, especially if Tristani sees play. I'm thinking Armada Worm will see play, because that's 10 life. and the ability to populate 5/5 worm tokens. So anyway, that's my list. I am definitely eager to see your list of what you would spec in or what you think Born of the Gods will bring as far as the dual devotion. Another cool thing is that it was spoiled. Let's check this out. It was spoiled that sorceries can have devotion as well. And so I'm thinking that dual color devotion in sorceries and instances will actually have will actually be spoiled shortly here too. So Sky Reaping is what I'm talking about. Sky Reaping deals damage to each creature with flying equal to your devotion of green. I'm sure we'll see some hybrid or some dual color devotion sorceries and instances, as well as maybe some enchantments, maybe some artifacts that also have devotion. So keep that in mind. If that's the case, then like the detention spheres become a lot better. The soul ransom become a lot better, as they are non-creature permanents that usually tend to stay out on the battlefield that will help your devotion with those instances or sorceries. So yep, definitely some exciting stuff with Born of the Gods. Yeah, so I'm very eager to see your list. This has been Kevin with Roguedeckbuilder.com. Thanks for watching.